I was originally just supposed to get on my horse and, bolt out of there. And my dad goes, Jess, come here. And we do this all the time with each other. I'll give him a note maybe and it'll work if I'm on set. And then he's like, come on over. I was like, yeah, what's going on? He says, why don't you, when you're running, why don't you just fan the gun as you're going? And I was like, oh, I like that. It's a good idea. And then we did it. And Gary, the director's like, I love that. Let's get a special on this of him fanning that gun.
Hi, I'm robword. Welcome to A Word on Westerns. Today we have a special treat. Again, we always have specials here because it's that kind of show. A friend of mine, dear friend, had a son. His son has grown up. He's going to become a bigger star than his dad. His dad is Martin Kove, the sensei. But we have Jesse Kove coming in right now. Big Jess, come on in. Welcome, pal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a seat, please. I remember in the Hole in the Wall gang, and actually here's our buckle, a new member right here. Keep your zipper up, but just show the buckle.
Okay, with Shane here. Okay.
Well, I remember up on a hill in Wyoming, a mountain actually, because we got no signal at all on the phone where we were camping.
Right.
Vivian was pregnant with you and your sister. And Marty's trying to get a signal, and he couldn't do it. He was trying to stay in touch for your imminent birth. So that was back in 1990, I think.
That's right.
We rode in September, and you were born in
90.
November.
Oh, November, yes. It's still the only place you can get a phone signal up there. I still go up there to call my girlfriend.
Well, I'm glad you're part of the gang now, too. That's so great.
Thank you. It's really such a pleasure to be part of the gang. It really is an honor. It's so much fun. I look forward to it every year. I mean, it's such an amazing place to go to, and to be it's so weird to go back to real life after we come from there.
This is real life, yes.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's. Sometimes you think that's real life.
Well, you're there, and it was real life for a lot of people, and your generation doesn't really grasp the Western history and the genre like you do. And it's because of your dad, I think. Did you grow up watching Westerns with him?
I did. I grew up all the time. We'd have movie nights, and he'd put on the classics. And it's also just amazing to be up here with some of these other guys you've been interviewing. But yeah, he would always put on movies, classics that I love to watch. And sometimes I'd be like, oh man, another black and white movie, and then he put it on and I loved it. Like it was always an incredible story with incredible acting and, beautiful characters and, a huge cinemascope, and just big movies, I remember he told me years ago, he's like, let's watch Ben-HUR. And I'm like, what the hell is that? As a young man. And then he put it on and I was like, oh, this is incredible. Movies like Ten Commandments, things like that. And, they really are incredible movies. And The Good, the Bad, the Ugly is like one of my favorite movies ever. I could always watch that when it's on TV. It's incredible.
Well, one time your dad, with headphones on, had his cassette player on listening to Ennio Morricone music. The first year he was on the ride, and he goes riding off, and it's turning dark. He doesn't know where he is, and everybody's shouting, come back, Shane, come back. And he doesn't hear him, and he got lost in the dark,
of course,
listening to Ennio Morricone, playing the Sergio Leone characters that he always imbued in himself.
Yes.
And obviously he's passed that love on to you.
I will always respect his effervescent energy into putting himself into those time periods. I do the same thing, I love it. And yeah, it definitely has passed on to me. And that heritage, that history, that cinema history is amazing. And I love it myself, and I get lost in it. And I'm a filmmaker, actor as well, and I love making movies, and I love working with him. And it's such a privilege to be able to do this stuff, and luckily we get to live some of that at the same time.
It's fun playing cowboy. Now in Farhaven, you've got this wonderful scene where you're jumping on your horse, but before you get to your horse, you're running and fanning and firing off at the bad guys. How did you come up with that?
This is a great story, actually. I'm glad you brought this up. One, I just really loved Farhaven. I had such a good time doing that movie, directed by Gary Wheeler. Huge Western fan, lovely guy to work with, such a visionary. So open ideas. And again, so this scene was actually with Bruce Boxleitner. He kind of plays like an uncle figure of mine, as you know. And in the scene, and what was funny was on that day, my dad was actually on set because he's in the movie as well. And
they cast it from A Word on Westerns. I think you've got A. Martinez and Chris Mulkey in it too.
It was great.
If you wanted to keep acting like you're wearing a uniform, you shouldn't have took off the one you had on.
Chris we had such a blast. I think they want to do a few more sequels for this movie because they just had such a great. This cast was very special. So we're on set that day. That was actually my first day, and my dad was there watching, and we were getting attacked. And, Bruce is kind of holding them off of the wagon with his Winchester. Come on out, you coward! I have to go ride on my horse to go let the family know that there's danger coming. And I was originally just supposed to get on my horse and, bolt out of there. And my dad goes, Jess, come here. And we do this all the time with each other. I'll give him a note maybe and it'll work if I'm on set. And then, we try to do it secretively, not to impose upon the director's vision or whatever. He's like, come on over. I was like, hey, what's going on? He says, why don't you, when you're running, why don't you just fan the gun as you're going? And I was like, oh, I like that. It's a good idea. And then we did it. And Gary, the director's like, I love that. Let's get a special on this of him fanning that gun. And it made the cut. And it was, so fun to play that. I shoot guns. I actually do, I do shooting competitions all the time. So for me, it was pretty easy to do all that. And I had a good time. Obviously working with guns, safe environments and stuff. But yeah, Farhaven was such a fun movie. And if any actor gets a chance to do a Western, as all we talk about, I highly recommend it.
They always say, yes, I want to do it.
It is literally, I think every actor's dream is to always do a Western, because it's like, when you make a Western, you're in it. Like there's no, when you're going to your trailer and there's mud all over you, there's crap on your face. Like, my dad had ants in his trailer, at one point. It was like...
They brought them there just for the shoot.
Just to kind of, make it seem like he was, not in a fancy wagon here in L.A. And, there's a lot of grit to it. And that's the fun of it. You're getting on a horse, you're riding a horse.
Well, the wardrobe in that film is terrific too. Now, how involved were you in the selection of, let's say, your hat?
So they had a huge selection of hats for us to choose from, and I wanted something that I hadn't worn before. It was kind of like that, the flat, more flat rimmed hat, and my character was kind of, he could just take what he could get at the time. It wasn't fancy, anything like that. I grew my hair out as well. I wanted to make sure that I wanted to have this character be something that you hadn't really seen me do before. So I wanted to look a little more dirty and have the long hair and scruff and all that. And it worked for the character. And what was funny was even Gary Wheeler, the director, said they had all these hats laid out, and he said, usually the first hat that you choose is always the one that works. And I was looking around, they probably had 50 hats, and I just saw this one. I was like, oh, maybe this one. And I picked it up, put it on. It was the one that we used, even though I tried on 10, 20 different hats. And just an interesting little gimmick. But it was so fun to be in that world. We shot that in at the Mescal movie set in Tucson, Arizona, where I didn't know that they actually shot most of Tombstone there. I did not know that. And I mean, I remember I was walking around with my dad like, oh my God, they shot this scene right here. And they did this scene right here. Like I was touching the wood. They even still have, what you can buy, by the way, at the Mescal movie set, which I bought a piece of it, the wallpaper from the, when they had the poker sequence in the, I forget the name of the saloon.
The birdcage?
It may have been the birdcage, but they still have the wallpaper from Tombstone on the wall, and you can buy a piece of it and have it in a frame and take it home with you. It's amazing. I mean, I had to do it. But yeah, it was amazing to be on that film set. It was kind of like a dream every day.
And how much fun is it to be with your dad?
Shooting with my dad is fun because we just kind of laugh and it's like two kids, in a big play park all the time. We push each other to do our best work. I want him to do well. He wants me to do well. So it's really nice to have that. And obviously his history of, all the films that he's done over the years, he has such great notes, and especially with Westerns. I mean, so many little things that I'm so appreciative of that he would tell me, and his repertoire and knowledge. Like you, if you were there, you would have given me the same notes. And same thing with Bruce. Like working with Bruce, who's like an uncle to me, was such a pleasure to work with him. It was like no time had passed. It was like we were at the hole in the wall. Just there was film cameras all around us, and that was really fun to be able to work with him in that capacity. I'll never forget it. Just kind of going to set every day, talking with him, thinking about what we had done that day. We'd shot these people and put this hay in this wagon, and then go back to our hotel and reminisce about all that. It was really beautiful.
Well, a lot of films these days are putting in the flare from the guns in post, fake. Were these real loads that you were using?
So actually, great question. This one, they did something that I'd never done before, which they had the patent on, which I think will be used in a lot of movies. They actually used gas-powered revolvers that the cartridges allowed you to put like a powder in, right? So they loaded these little cartridges with powder, like you would a regular revolver or Colt, and then inside they'd have a little gas canister that would go in the handle. And you could fire it like a normal gun, and it would just spray this gas out, and then they would add the sound effects in post. And at the first time I'd done that, it was nice because, with everything that was going on, especially with, what happened with the Alec Baldwin set, which is obviously terribly tragic. I'm very familiar with guns, and I'm very comfortable with them. So, if they had blanks, I would have used them. But they used this system, and it just felt very natural to be able to do it that way. And obviously that helps the actor out rather than just, going like this and having it not look well. So it was really cool to be able to use this new system that they had, which is obviously safer, and I would use it again and again.
Well, how was the armorer on that show?
He was great. Super professional, obviously always, showing everybody that the gun's unloaded. Making sure that everybody else was very comfortable on set. I mean, overly talking about how safe things are. Whenever the weapons would come out, they would announce it. I would also always double check all the time, even if he just showed me, I wanted to make sure. So also making other people comfortable as well. So, that's, when you're making a Western, there's guns involved.
The lead in Far Haven is Bailey Chase, who had been in Longmire and stuff. What was he like to work with?
Bailey was awesome. We had a great time together. Very humble man, hard worker, very hard worker. He brought this great element to Far Haven that was, I didn't expect it at first, but, kind of very, as an actor watching him, he was just he kept everything very kind of contained, to the point where you just wanted to listen to what he was saying all the time. And I thought that was a great choice.
You got a lot of nerve showing up here unannounced.
Who's Grandpa talking to?
For my children, Ben. I have a right. Rights are earned, not given.
You're everywhere. You're posting on Instagram, and you've got, here's what Jesse is doing today. How much time does that take?
Too much time. My girlfriend smacks me on the head about it all the time. She's like, "You're on your phone again." I was like, I know. Throw it away.
It's work, dear. It's work.
Always, right? Yeah. We live in a time where it's kind of like you have to be your own PR person and, your own agent at the same time, even though I have all those things. It's part of what it is. You are your own champion. And I think also I like to show people like what I'm working on, especially if it's a Western. I want people to see like how fun they can be and like how great it is. And, people really want to be involved in what you're doing. And it's like you're enrolling them in a show that they're watching on a daily basis, it's just the life that we choose to live. And I think that, that helps with, a fan base and it's fun to interact that way with people, and it's fun to show them these things. A lot of people have no idea how a movie's made or what
even
it
the
takes.
ones that are making them don't have any idea.
That's right. That's right. I've absolutely come across many of those. I do so many different things, whether it's animal rights, traveling, stuff with my dad, movies, film, friends, family, food, everything. I like to stay busy.
I know that as you were growing up, because I've known you forever, that you hung out with Nick Cage's son.
Weston, yes.
And you're still hanging out with him because you guys did a Western together.
Weston and I have done 2 projects together. He's like my brother.
The Night They Came Home. Juvenile, delinquent, bad guys who were cowboys.
It's a cool one. And, because I was filming Far Haven, I couldn't be as involved in the movie as I wanted to be. it's kind of like Princess Diaries. I came in and Patrick, the producer, he's like, we got one more day left on this movie. I got to get you in this movie. He says, we're shooting with Danny Trejo. And on this day, he's like, can you come in this day? I was like, great, I'll be there. So it was Danny Trejo and Peter Sherayko was there as well, which was really a nice treat. I hadn't seen him in a while. He kept firing guns into the ceiling and all into the crafty tables. It was very unprofessional. So he did not do that. But yeah, so we had this great moment. It's like Princess Diaries. Danny Trejo's character, I walk into this bar and I see him, and he's this mysterious man, and he starts talking about this gang, and he kind of narrates the whole movie throughout the film, and I'm there sitting there listening with this harlot on my left side here who's
tough
sitting
work.
there right, sitting there listening to the story as well. And as he's telling the story, the actual movie unfolds, and they cut back to us throughout the film reacting to his story. It was a great piece that he had written in, and I was really excited to be there. Working with Danny was great. Such a pro and so fun. And
well, Westerns do seem like they're coming back, and I think we all want to thank Taylor Sheridan.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to be the beacon here that's been bringing it back, and I think it is amazing what he's done. I mean, Yellowstone is incredible. I think it took, Yellowstone was really popular, and I think after like season 3, 4, it just really took off. And I think it's kind of like, I think it's that first show in a while that really depicts like, kind of America in a certain way that a lot of people don't get a chance to see.
Pretty dark.
Yeah, but you got to have those elements. I mean, I think America obviously has a dark history where we came from, and I think some of those truths are there, and some of them it's Hollywood, and I think it's important what he's doing. And also, like, I watched Tulsa King. I was at the premiere of 1923. I met Harrison Ford that night. I said to my publicist, I was like, if anything tonight, I have to get a picture with Harrison Ford. Nothing else is important. And I did. And Harrison was really nice, walked up
and
to
then
him.
1883 with Sam.
That's
too.
right.
Ooh, is that good?
That's right.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, Jeremy Ghana, who worked on 1883, he was actually the Native American character who killed, at the very end, the blonde.
The blonde.
Yeah, he kills her in the story. And he was telling me that working with him on that was just wild. But Jeremy was in Farhaven, great guy, also become one of my dear friends. But yeah, going to 1923 was great to see all these different storylines that have been created from what he's done. I think it's great. It's all a big adventure. I was this close to getting the part of the fellow who's in Africa, who's the hunter. I went up for that role, and I saw him. I was at the premiere and I watched him, and I was like, all right. He did a great job. This guy, I shook his hand, told him he did a great job.
How often does that happen where you go out for a part and you think you've got it and you just miss it?
So I'll tell you a funny story. In 1 week, I went to the premiere of which one of my favorite shows of the year, which was, oh my God, it was based on The Godfather, how The Godfather was created. Terrible, I just forgot the name of it.
And you're so young. How can that happen?
I know. I'm naming too many movies at the same time. And The Offer, thank you. Yeah. So I went to the premiere of The Offer. I went up for James Caan's character in that movie. So I went to the premiere of that, was watching it. I was saying, great, did a good job too. Then literally the next day, I went to the premiere of Billy the Kid for Epics. And also I went up for Pat Garrett in that one. And so I'm watching these. I'm like, all right, what are these guys doing? But you know what? It's kind of like you gotta, as a man and as an artist, you gotta just kind of tip your hat off to the other artists and be like, good job. Like that's,
Otherwise, you fester.
Yeah, and like you got to be happy for them too, because if you were in their shoes, you'd be happy, and vice versa. So it's just part of what it is.
It is the business. So you, having grown up in the business, you realize that, I think, more than most people.
Right, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I've seen the ups, I've seen the downs, and I feel like you just kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt.
And Marty, there was some real low parts.
Yeah, you were there at most of those low parts, I think. Now, not so much.
Now it says he's doing great now, and I'm happy that he's doing well, and very pleased and happy how well everything is going for you, Jesse. It's having this great attitude, I think.
Oh, thank you. Same for you. I mean, it's just, we're here for the ride.
I was born to do this.
Yes, you were. We're here for the ride.
Yeah, we are here for the ride, and I look forward to riding with you again. You going to Rex's in the spring?
Of course, I'll be there.
We're going to be riding in the hole in the wall. Show our buckles one more time. Here we go. We got them. Thanks, Jess. Loved it, man.
You too. Great.